I had to join the boys team, and I think that obviously without them I wouldn't be the player I am today. I think it's something that people don't think of, but it's something that was key in the way I've developed as a football player.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Fitzness Academy podcast. Obviously, I am James. This is episode number 10, series number 2. And today I'm gratefully joined and very, very proud to say that I've got the first female guest on the podcast, which is brilliant. Shania, obviously Gibraltar's next big thing in the female football or just footballing world. Obviously, we've had TJ on before, which is brilliant, but Shania again, leading by storm. Gibraltar got 4 caps now, I think, if I'm right. 4 caps for Gib now in international football as well. On the side, not a big deal. She's also been on BT Sport, by the way, guys. Obviously, big thing being on BT Sport Series Ultimate Goal Season 2. And obviously smashing it. Again, I had my older brother who was on MasterChef The Professionals. I said how weird it was to see another Gibraltarian on mainstream TV, and it was the exact same. Okay, messaging, I've been like, yeah, that's weird. This is really weird. But no, it's fantastic to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on, Shania.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. As well, obviously, team, I forget to say, as well, studying at Loughborough University, the mecca of sports in the UK. If you've not heard of it, you need to look it up. Studying psychology as well. So far, far smarter than anyone else here. She's probably going to make so many judgments about everything we do, but or try to turn this into a psychological meeting. No, I'm only joking. No. Thank you very much. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah. Just finished exams, so finally having a break from it all before the talk this Saturday already.
True, you speak. Was it Gib Talks you're speaking? And then playing again in, I don't think this was being announced yet. I can't say. That's a secret. Playing for Gib. No, after that in some friendlies again as well?
Yeah. Well, they've announced them already.
Oh, okay. That's good. I'll put it on the screen there as well. So show everyone's support for that, which is good. But just to start off, because, again, I've listed them there in horrible chronological order there. So do you want to give us a little insight into your journey? Maybe not just from football. Obviously, if you couldn't tell, I've got a Gibraltar flag in the background. So also coming from Gibraltar as well. I know it's difficult. So give us a little rundown as to your journey up to today.
I mean, from a young age, there wasn't a lot of girls playing, obviously, in terms of football. So I had to join with the boys team, and I think that obviously without them I wouldn't be the player I am today. I think it's something that people don't think of, but it's something that was key in the way I've developed as a football player. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't the best when I was younger, but I've grown a lot since the progression from the boys to the women's league was a huge step for me. So I stayed with the boys for like 7 years, I think it was, or more. And I ended up joining the women's league when I was 12 because there's no like progression. So it's obviously a lot different to what the boys are used to, where they can just stay in their clubs and progress till when they're, older adults. But it's different for women. And then obviously I stayed with Lincoln in the women's league for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And in the last season, I joined Lions because they didn't bring out another Lincoln team. And obviously I've been kind of playing in uni as well now and just getting any opportunities I have. But obviously another huge thing was when I got called up for the women's squad when I was 12 for the national women's squad, which was really good for me. And since then I've just been improving pretty much every match, every tournament. And then here I am now.
Almost get breathless saying that. You have to try and fit it all into one sentence. That's why you have to sum it up. That's brilliant. The one thing I want to start off rapid, because I did as with these podcasts, really, really, really like scarily and really cringe, like dig deep, and I do all these research into everyone. Well, it says, obviously you mentioned there very briefly, but Lincoln obviously disbanded the women's team because obviously it wasn't a lot of players. Would you think that your almost, maybe not your journey, but your career has got to this point now? If you didn't maybe not stopped, obviously you wouldn't have, but do you reckon it's made you a better player playing with the boys once that disbanded and you went to play with the boys?
Yeah. Like, I think it was, like, as I was saying before, when I was playing with the boys, I wasn't necessarily the best player. I wouldn't consider myself that at all. But it was more like the basics that I learned from it that I would then take on to the Women's League after when I went to Lincoln. And then there, I was like kind of the smallest girl, the youngest girl in the league as well. And I was really small and fragile. So then that's when I started using my strengths more, like my speed and like obviously skill. Like I kind of identified myself as a winger. And like then I tried using my kind of the best skills I've developed to my advantage. Kind of you just learn around those things in the Women's League. And then obviously gradually, you grow and you become a woman and you're stronger. So now you have the skills that you developed when you were a bit more fragile, and you can put it on top of the strength that you have now. And then obviously that's where I've seen the major improvements throughout the Women's League. Like every year I kind of progressed and was getting better and better. And then, so yeah, I think the boys was definitely key in how I am playing now.
Well, not just the boys, no, I suppose maybe the older age groups as well. You said being called up to national squad at 12 years old is almost mind-blowing. No, I think it's a bit crazy thinking that or hearing that. No, you must say, oh no, maybe she means like sort of under 21s or whatever. But the first team, being called up to first team football is an honor at any age. Did you really sort of understand how important that was at the age of 12, or did it take you a few more years after that to sort of sink in and realize the opportunity you had been given?
I remember getting the message through because there was a few call-ups and my name was there, and I just went to her and I was like, Mom, I've been chosen. So I was really excited. And Adrian Paral was the coach at the time, and I found him like really, really good to learn from. It was like a step up to the club level, almost like I was developing more. There wasn't many matches that year, but then I think the following year, that's when we started going to Spain a bit more, and then that's when I started carrying on progressing, and it kind of settled that year that I was actually in the women's squad, and like I was able to represent my country more than at the under 16 level. Then like it's kind of from the under 16 to the women, it's like this is the real thing, and this is where now you're becoming role models almost for the younger generations.
We're going to get into that a little bit more later on, but you're jumping the gun here. Relax. Start going on to a point there before. You said obviously a coach is obviously, you said he was good for you. Is coach sort of the type of coach that you have a big thing for you? Because for me personally, I know, well, obviously cricket and football is probably extremely different in that respect, but for me personally, I know for a fact that you gel better with a coach. They're probably the best they get out of you. Is that a case for you as well, or does it? I was like, no, whatever coach, I'm just gonna like crack on and play.
Yeah, I obviously love football so much that there's nothing that can stop me from playing. So in that sense, regardless of the coach, it's not like I'm gonna play any better or worse. I'm gonna give my 100%. But at the same time, for me, a coach is actually a huge thing, because that's what sends you kind of from a good player to a great player. Like they'll see your potential and then they'll develop you into the best player you can be. So obviously here at Loughborough, like that's something that I've been developing consistently throughout. We've got like this new coach here from the FA, and he's honestly like, from the moment he came, he's really, really strict. And I think that maybe if this coach, for example, would be in the environment of Gibraltar, maybe a lot of people won't last because they're not willing to commit to that extent. Whereas here in Loughborough, everyone is committed. So the coach then is like, he's literally taken me to another level, and I'm literally learning every single session. And to have kind of this aspiration in football, this is what you want at the end of the day, to learn every session. So for me, it's hugely important in my success, a good coach.
These are the words coming from a 20-year-old, by the way. This is what you expect from like a 35-year-old at the end of their career. This is amazing. Talk to us a bit more about Loughborough, because obviously I know it as well. Obviously, studying sports science, looking up to Loughborough, and even potentially sort of looking to apply there for masters or doctorate, whatever I decide to do in the future. I know how important that is. So, was it always Loughborough for you in terms of looking at it from a football and an academical side? I think a lot of us, and I know that was for me a huge thing for me when I came to uni, was, Vale, where's the best sport? No, where's the best cricket? Where's the best training to play? As well as that, was it a big thing for you looking at football, or was it the other way around, being like, well, no, academics side comes first and this is my chance to do academics? Or was it, they just gel, both of them at the same time?
It was both for me. I was doing A-levels, and as we applied to uni, we have our predicted grades. And I had 3 A stars predicted, and almost they were telling me, don't put anything lower than B's for your insurance. And I was like, okay. And then after I came to visit here, it was almost like it was both, like, you have the best of both worlds. Normally uni's either good at sports or good at studies, but this has literally both. So it was literally my dream to come here, if I'm honest. And like, you're walking around the campus and you see maybe England netballers coming through. I mean, I've been in the gym and I've had an England netballer right beside me, so it's like it's just like everyone wants to come here, every athlete. And I think there's a cricket, the NGB of cricket is actually here, so England cricket come a lot as well.
It is, yeah. Every single, it's quite bizarre, because a lot of the time, and I'm a big believer in this, is that education is fantastic, but like obviously experience side of that is really vital as well. But a lot of practitioners, not like aside from sport now, while we're looking at psychology and sports science and what we're sort of both of us are in at the moment, is that a lot of people actually look really highly up to Loughborough University based on the credentials that it has. So like you said, the national governing body of cricket's there. A lot of the like strength and conditioning coaches, which I've spoken to, have gone to Loughborough, speak very highly of it. And like you said, the athletes that go there is ridiculous. You know, Adam Peaty, I look up to Adam Peaty a lot. A swimmer, obviously, most successful breaststroke for Great Britain or in the world, I think now. You know, Dillian White, a professional boxer, trains there as well. I think he does the S&C program there. And obviously England netball and you know, like you said, the football is growing, everything's growing, and it's fantastic to see the amount of people who probably win Olympic medals or go on to make it professionally and have said that they've been to Loughborough, they've sort of somehow been associated with Loughborough is incredible. So moving on from Loughborough, because obviously that journey's not finished yet. So you're in second year now, no?
Yeah,
you're in second year, which is crazy. And we're going to get onto the psychology of it a little bit later. So we're going to come back. But we're going to move on to what happened last year. What happened last year when all of a sudden you said you were going to be on BT Sport? Because I know that when I saw it and I looked at then your story, you had about 250 stories of people meant or sort of resharing and sharing that you were going to be on this program. And I got a little bit of an insight as to how sort of television works from when I had my older brother on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, where he was saying how sort of it gets filmed and then they release it in little chunks as if it's like sort of actually happening. Is that how it was?
Yeah.
Or actually tell us how it came about. Actually start. Let's get right into detail. How did it come about?
Well, actually, like this, a friend from Gibraltar actually sent it to me and said, like, look, take a look at this, and I think it's worth if you try apply. And I was looking at it, and it was almost like I'll apply, but I probably know I'm not gonna get picked. Like, they chose 26 players from all around the world, and it was like, when I got there on the day, I started asking about their stories, and then this girl was like, oh, I played for England in the under-21s, and I was like, okay. And then this one, a D1 athlete from America, and I was like, okay. And like, it just kind of takes you back almost. But then as I was applying, I then submitted it, and I waited a few weeks, and then it's a funny story, because as they were Belgium, the European qualifiers for futsal, as that was going on the day before the match, I get an email from a producer saying, would like to interview you for the program. So it was like, okay. So as everyone was just like kind of concentrated, I was just doing interviews in the hotel. And then I think the day after the qualifier match, I got accepted into the program. And I immediately just had to come to UK and isolate and start getting ready for the big thing. But it was when I found out, I was like, I called my whole family and we just celebrated for a day.
Did you have to keep it secret, like sort of because they were announcing it sort of as it goes, or was it a case of Valley, you can sort of release it and then it that way?
No, we had to keep it secret. I mean, obviously Jib and my family, like they can't like they were just telling everyone, but really we shouldn't have been saying anything. Like, this was recorded in May 2021 and it came out in November. Yeah. So all those months quiet, even though like my mom especially was not keeping very quiet. But it got to the point where the producer sent cameramen over and they didn't even ask certain people in case they would say things. Like, they had to bring from somewhere else, so they would know nothing about anyone there, so they couldn't say anything. But it was like, we didn't keep it as secret as we couldn't say it at the same time fully.
That's Gibraltar for you. In a nutshell. I was like you saw it. Like, whoever watched the podcast with Nick, you can see that the support. That's what's the beauty of it. No, the support that you get is absolutely incredible. So because I know when I was watching, obviously I can't put the video on for copyright, but like if you do, I'm gonna leave the link to the show in the description, because obviously people in the UK can watch it still. It made it seem how actually made us very proud of sort of where you've come from, no? Because obviously, like I said, little Gibraltar. I said it on TJ's podcast as well, little Gibraltar, and then sort of taking part in this big stage, and it was incredible to watch. So in terms of, like you said, obviously the different players from different environments, did you ever have a feeling when you went in that you were potentially, and this is not knowing to be disrespectful, did you ever feel like you were out of your depth, or was it a case of, nah, I deserve, maybe not deserve, but I want to be and I can be here?
No, 100, like what you said before. Like I've always had, this is one of the things I'm going to speak about in Jib Talks, to kind of inspire, motivate people. But
I've got the sneak peek.
But previous to the program, I had gone to Everton and Twente, and like I literally was like, it wasn't me. I found it so challenging in every way. So I just thought, with this program now, it's not only just a trial or training. Now you have cameras around you and they know your story, so it's even more kind of pressure. So initially I was really, really like, I was so nervous and scared, because you're hearing from everyone and you're thinking I'm not that good. But then after that, like something just clicked, and my family were always telling me that I just need to think like shoulders back and go for it, because you're never going to get this opportunity again. So there was a mixture of things that happened. There was a sports psychologist from the England Lionesses there helping us, and she kind of made me realize how, like, even though I come from Gibraltar and everyone has all these experiences, they are at the end of the day human, and they're feeling and thinking the same things that I am. They're all scared, they're all nervous, they're all worried that they're not as good as the rest. So that's something that I was like, okay, they're thinking and they're feeling the same things as me, so that means I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to give it my all. And then that just clicked after that. Everything literally, like, I couldn't give it anymore, and the results and the success came from it after.
Well, that, as you said, this incredible story. I'm blown away by the way you speak, because, like I said, previous episodes I've done on people who are a little bit older have that life experience to kind of back that up. And also, you've had a lot of experience in a short space of time, which I think is a reason why I think the Jib Talks is such a good opportunity to speak in that respect. So staying with the show, because we obviously, it's quite cool, because we've obviously got little snippets as to different players, and then obviously they did, it was episode 5. No, you was your main episode. No, I think it was episode 5. See, episode 5. So what, the way that the show obviously worked, did it always sort of transpire that you were gonna sort of use the show to then progress after that? Or was it a case of, this show, if I do well on the show, this could help me next week by getting a trial here or a trial there? Was it a case of sort of always looking to the future past the show, or like focusing on the next game or the next training session?
I mean, it's very easy to get kind of carried away as you're there and thinking, oh, that means I'm gonna get this after it, or that means, but like I was more thinking of it in terms of every training session, because not only do you might get something at the end of this, but it's more what you're learning throughout as well. You're getting taught by a licensed coaches there. You're being taught by previous England internationals. I mean, Joe Cole went there, Lucy Bronze, and my favorite one was Townsend, actually.
I was gonna say that episode was brilliant. He was really, really good.
Yeah. I learned so many things, and it's like, it's almost like not that I forgot, but like the kind of the long-term goal was kind of not so close to me. It was more thinking about what I'm learning like right now, and then implementing it as we go along. And that's what I started doing. So I noticed that in 1 week I improved so much just because of what they were teaching me. And like, then obviously as I was making it through the stages, it became clear, like, okay, this is the key to success now. And like, I had that goal in mind at the end of the experience, but like, it was just focusing on like the training sessions, the specific match, and then carrying on from there.
That's brilliant. That's incredible. I've said that's brilliant. That's incredible. I think it's 12 times now. I've got a little tally chart going. But no, I'm going to focus on that Andros Townsend episode a bit more, because and it's interesting from another elite athlete's point of view. I'm not saying I'm an elite athlete. I don't know why I said it like that. From an elite athlete like that, because he kind of, if it's like sort of, I think it was something technically with the left foot, and you sort of maybe cut round the mannequin. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a cut round the mannequin and then a shoot off with the left. And then a couple of people were saying how they sort of never ever use the left foot. And then it wasn't a case of you saying you never use your left foot, is that you gave it a try. And yes, I think you can agree, yeah, it was a bit tricky. Nobody who tried it and then he admired the fact that you had tried it again. I've probably got this completely wrong, but it's from what I can remember. And what I really admired, again, like I said, was the courage to try it. Not like I said, because for all you know, you could have gone on this program and, I don't know, gone out in the first round. Obviously, thankfully you didn't, but like you could have gone out in the first round. Did you ever have an expectation to reach the end, or was it a case, like you said, obviously linking in a little bit to the last question I had better, did you ever have like sort of an expectation, right, I want to reach this round, or a goal to reach that round? Was it a case like, no, I'm just gonna, like you said, take it training session at a time, in terms of sort of a goal when you started?
If I'm completely honest, like when I started, I was almost thinking in my head, like, okay, 6 days and I'm going back, because I thought in my head I wasn't going to go through. So it was almost like 6 days and I can go back. And I was already thinking like, oh, I have exams in 1 week. That means I can prepare. In my head, I was going back after 1 week. And then all of a sudden, like after the third day, I remember I scored, because as I was playing, I was scoring more than anyone. But in my head, I wasn't playing very well. So I was like, no, I'm not going to make it through. And then on the third day, that's when people started coming up to me and they were saying, you're doing really well, like you can make it through. And I was thinking like, maybe I can. So I was telling my family, obviously, every day. And after that day, I remember thinking like, maybe I can. And I was just thinking of the moment, all my family, if I were to make it through. And generally that was so motivating for me, just to be able to tell them that I made it. Because like before I left, that was one promise that my family actually made me kind of do. It was that my dad and my auntie specifically said that I was just gonna give it my 100%, and that was my motivation again. So just to give that 100% and make it through, and then tell them like how kind of I've granted that promise, if you've said it right. But that was like, I think it took me 3 days to then get the goal of making it through.
What, when you did, I remember sharing it on the story as well. I was like, you almost enjoyed, oh my god.
Yeah.
And I was not trying to be offensive. It's incredible, because obviously, like you said, oh, you have an inkling, but there's never any guarantee with this. No, I think there's, like you said, I think the beauty with these programs it gives everyone a chance to even go. I think they brought, was it on the 6th or 7th episode, they brought back a wild card, no, someone like that who hadn't been sort of chosen as well, which is amazing, because like you said, chances come around when you least expect it, which is like this as well. So in terms of linking that in with the psychological side of things, I think, because this is probably one of the best people to ask, because you get a best of both worlds. You're in there as an athlete, and then you're doing it as a degree. So do you ever sort of almost keep teaching yourself these sort of different sort of, maybe, I don't know, models of I don't know, I don't do too much psychology anymore, and I do a bit more physiology, but do you ever find yourself sort of almost telling yourself what you're being taught in your lectures and using that for your game?
Yeah, like with the team, I always actually, now that you've said it, it's funny, because I always go back to the GFA and I say, guys, I've learned this to help team cohesion. Let's do this exercise. Let's do it. And then it's like, we don't have time. I'm like, no, let's do it. It really helps. But no one listens to me, though. But the individually though, especially the sports psychologist of the lionesses from the program, that's something I always apply with me. And like little things, like, I mean, when you get negative thoughts throughout a match or whatever, like everyone just tries to push them away, but that's the thing, like your brain doesn't deal with negativity in that way. If you tell it to stop thinking something, it's going to think of it more. So now it's learning how to cope with those thoughts during and after a match. And like those things really help me, because like you're now able to kind of recognize the thought and get back to reality, to then carry on and kind of performing and then coming back from it and being resilient to all the challenges. So I think that's the main. Individually, it's more beneficial for me, because I haven't had the opportunity to kind of do it as a team yet. But yeah, individual aspects like that, like negative thoughts and stuff, and trying to dispute them in the right way, is something that I'm learning, and I'm going to continue learning for a while. But I mean, it's all about progress.
Well, I'm going to give you the headphones now. Well, you're going to take over, because I haven't said a word there. No, but that is brilliant, because I know I do it sometimes, well, and it's a bit, I almost get a bit carried away, and it's probably not the best way of coaching, right? But obviously, when I'm coaching an athlete or something, I don't know. Yeah. So we're doing the bicep curl. We extend and then we flex, and then not control the eccentric on the way. And I'm like, remember who you're dealing with almost. And for me, I get a bit carried away, but I think it's a really good thing, because I think if someone obviously doesn't think about what they're doing and sort of putting into practice what they learn, it's almost a bit wasted. Now, I suppose that you said your brain doesn't probably deal with things in the best way when they're negative thoughts or anything. So just keeping it positive and sort of, again, using it in a good way is brilliant. So I'm gonna completely flip it round now. Okay, I'm gonna have a chat to you about because I've got a little article here in front of me, Vala, and it says, I want to carry on and never give up on football. Or sorry, I want them to carry on. Emphasis on the them. Well, and we're going to focus on Gibraltar first, because I think we can agree in England, just sport as a whole is getting better and better, and there's more people engaging in all form of sport. Well, okay, I don't know a single rule about rugby, but the amount of kids I see in Gibraltar playing rugby is incredible, and vice versa. No, the amount of kids I see playing cricket now is ridiculous, and even in Gibraltar with the academy there. So is it always on your mind that now everything you do is looked at and sort of almost people look up to? Because I know Caitlin, your sister, not Caitlin, is it your sister? Probably looks at it again. I can't remember the article. It doesn't say the exact article, but it says obviously she also plays a lot in the futsal as well, and also made her debut as well in that game versus Belgium. No, I was. I remember watching it on the stream. And does it almost help sort of knowing that you've got people to sort of inspire with everything you do?
It is a motivation, because obviously, as I was saying before, when I was younger playing with the boys, there was no one to look up to in that sense. So if you look at it now, there's only one other girl in my year group that plays football. And that's really, really poor numbers if you think about it and compare it to the amount of girls that are playing now, where you have 60. I mean, I don't know how many, but there's this new Fun Fridays thing, which now I kind of go and try coaching when I'm in Gib, and then they kind of look up to me whenever. I mean, I think before the futsal, when the article came out, I was coaching them, and then they all went to watch the futsal match. And obviously seeing me succeed and getting so close, it makes them kind of, it gives an incentive to kind of carry on and playing and knowing what they can achieve when they're older. So like that is, people can take it as pressure, but for me, it's more like just an incentive and a motivation to carry on being a good role model. And obviously I don't see myself in doing any negative behaviors. You know, I don't go out, I don't drink, I do everything in a healthy way. So like, what better way to just show it then on the pitch, how I'm doing things outside of it as well. So it's not only just doing and performing well, but obviously showing how you are outside of the pitch is something really good, not only for younger girls, but for your teammates as well that are coming into the women's squad of the Gibraltar national squad.
Does it, and I don't want to put it in a bad light whatsoever, but do you ever feel like sometimes it puts too much pressure on you in terms of maybe when you say, like you said, obviously they come to the games afterwards, do you, and this is not a negativity towards yourself, no, but I feel it sometimes where, I don't know, we're playing for Gibraltar, then it's being sort of what do you call it? I've lost my words. It's being sort of televised or whatever, or put on stream, and everyone's watching. I almost let the pressure get to myself, and I'm admitting that because obviously people on here might be the same. But do you ever feel like that pressure impacts you in a negative way, or do you, like I said, with your psychological background, does it just help you sort of get better?
I think it depends. Like after the program, when all this hype was going around, we had the November friendlies, and I was struggling a lot with my knees. But mentally, it was like, no, I have to play. And in my opinion, it wasn't my best performance. And I don't know if it was the pressure or the injuries, but I think it was a bit of both. And then that's when the coach kind of sat me and said, literally, like, the best player, like you don't need to show anyone how good you are, kind of. And then it's like once you adopt that way of thinking, then it becomes much clearer to you that it's like, it doesn't matter what people think, they know that you're good enough, and then just showing your best on the pitch. So I'm not used to it yet. I don't think I'm 100% used to it after the program, because a lot of people like have reached out and said how they look up to me, and like it's just, I wouldn't say it's a weight on my shoulders though. It's almost like an opportunity. It's just how you think of it, I guess, that changes. Nothing else is going to change, rather your perspective on it. So that's why I'm trying to learn how to get kind of a more positive and influential perspective almost.
And you mentioned the sort of, I don't want to make this too much into an interview, but I've got so many questions. It keeps going through and I'll ask you a different question. I've got like a list of show notes here, and I've probably not gone over any of them. But in terms of what you said there, being reminded that you've got the quality there, does it always? And this may seem a bit sort of narcissistic, not to some people, but I think you need to give yourself credit in a way, no? So if you feel, oh, am I good enough? And then you'll be like, well, no, I've been selected for this. I've been selected for this. And, I've been selected and I've been told this, not. And then does it give you the confidence almost being told that and remembering sort of where you've come from and sort of the steps you've taken? Does it almost sort of push those thoughts out straight away and then you just crack on?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, in that moment when the coach told me, it definitely helped me because I was feeling a bit down for my performance. But I mean, really, it should come from within. If you know yourself and you have this self-belief that you're one of the best, then it's going to show in your performances. And that's something like before the program, I'd really struggled in my confidence. But after it's kind of made me realize that I am good enough now. And like I go back with my shoulders held back quite a lot. And I just kind of like, it's not narcissistic, but I just know that I'm one of the better players and I need to kind of show that in the pitch, train in the way I perform in the matches and just the way I kind of even interact with teammates, just to know that you are kind of, we're one of them, we're all teammates, we're all equal, but at the same time, you're coming from a background here in Loughborough with more experience and more kind of, you're developing more abilities. And in that way, I've kind of transitioned my thinking into now being not narcissistic, but just having that self-belief that you are good and you can perform to the best now that you're at this level.
Wow. Again, 20 years old. This is getting a bit ridiculous, right? And I wasn't calling Shania a narcissist there, by the way, if anyone was thinking that. I was just...
Yeah. I know what you mean,
start slating everyone. Nah, get out. No, but I'm gonna sort of skip to this question then. I normally ask it last. Do you have obviously possibly maybe not at the start of your career, but is there now an emphasis now to try and inspire in sort of maybe even not individual, maybe not females in particular, because I know that even myself, you get inspired from seeing another Gibraltarian do well, specifically Gibraltarians, because I think everyone gets role models from everyone. Anyone can have Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, or I don't know, Joe Root, or I don't know, someone else as their idol. But I think it becomes a little bit more special when that individual sort of comes from a place where you've come from before. So in that sense, what does it... Oh, this is a difficult question because I'm doing off the top of my head, but is it always now sort of that sort of goal to try and inspire the young girls and young boys to try and play a bit more football? And what's your advice for them as well?
I mean, my aim is to inspire. My aim is to do the best I can. I get every opportunity I have now and do my best and prepare my best for it. But in terms of my advice for the young people, and I think that many people haven't succeeded when they've been younger. Like you've heard of a lot of people that go trial and they come back and they're unsuccessful. And I think many people attribute it to kind of their abilities. But I don't think it's that. I think it's just about their mental fortitude, kind of like how strong they are mentally. And I think the more mentally prepared they are for these things, that's when they succeed. I mean, you've seen TJ, how now he's kind of, he came back from the club he was before, now he's gone to this new club and he's doing good there. Like it just shows like he's willing to make those sacrifices and he's willing to show kind of how strong he is mentally. And slowly but surely he will succeed. And I'm sure like how I did in the program, it was more that change of like, I've told you how I was unsuccessful in previous trials, but this time it was different because of how I was thinking of the opportunity rather than my ability. That's my advice to them.
It's brilliant, because I think obviously if they're listening to this and hopefully they are listening to this and they get inspired from that perspective, it may be difficult to understand now. But like you said, as you go on, I think TJ even admitted it at the start. He probably admitted that after he came back from Oviedo, he probably wasn't working as hard or sort of sticking to what he knew was best. And then as soon as he got back onto that, he got that opportunity at Wickham. So then it's a case of staying consistent and then having that mental fortitude to sort of keep doing your best. Like you said, obviously your lifestyle wise, to some it may seem strict and ridiculous, but I'm very similar in that respect, because for me personally, and this is not because one life to do this, one life to do that. I think it's natural. I think naturally as well, I don't like going out and getting
Yeah,
drunk every night like some of my uni mates. But then them doing it, that's perfectly fine as well. I think it's just naturally the person who I am, and I think everyone has off days, but 9 times out of 10, if you have your, like you said, your mental fortitude to do it, 9 times out of 10 you're going to succeed. And I think it's realizing that as well. And there's nothing wrong with, again, having a day where you relax and go on a night out or
yeah,
go and have a takeaway or whatever. But and that's really important. If any youngsters are watching this, is have a good balance, as well. Have a good balance, even if it doesn't have to be drinking. It doesn't have to be drinking. I don't know, having a day watching Netflix, or I don't know, whatever it may be for some. I know
yeah,
I know some, but like TJ said, TJ's football, football, football. But in that sense, he does different things. He does use PlayStation to relax, and he does it that way. That's fine as well. Like, another question I have for you is do you ever, and I've experienced it, and it's difficult, because then and I spoke to one of the cricketers who I'm thankful enough to sponsor again for another year, Harrison Ward. He said he didn't quit football. Quit cricket. He almost like took a break and then sort of had a refresh and found his love for the game again. Do you ever find yourself, or have you ever found yourself getting burnt out before?
I think this year has been the most I've been burnt out, because it's not only with football, it's the degree as well that people don't realize. People think that I'm just doing football, and it's not that at all. I think I have like more hours of work than football, to be honest. Like, some days I've been training at 6 in the morning, I wake up, and then after that I have lectures till 6 in the afternoon, and then after go to training again, and then come back and study till 3. So it's not like, I mean, then before Christmas actually was when I was most burnt out, and I just wanted a break from everything, because not only football, but just like being so mentally drained and then going to football, it's just not a good combination, because you need to be at your best mentally and physically. So in terms of burnout, I mean, I use the summer a lot to relax, but also to kind of get those like injuries out the way, because I've carried a lot of these last 2 years, which is more than I would have liked. I still do now, but I mean, I have hope that eventually my knees I've always struggled with, hopefully they'll be better. I'm doing a rehab program now as well. So, but in terms of burnout, I think this year has been the worst. But I use my breaks appropriately and just kind of recover and recharge.
Well, I think you can aggregate. It's not a case of maybe just having to take or having to sort of take a lot of time off. No, it's maybe it's like you said, a weekend or a month or something to refresh and to do it in that perspective. Because, like you said, I think if you think about it, and I think using the injury point Gabe just said there is a really, really good one, because in a way you don't switch off from football as well, but you are at the same time. It's a difficult one, because you're still thinking about how you can improve, but then at the same time it's irrespective, and you're with your family, and you're sort of almost like sort of de-stressing in that way.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do now is, we're gonna do 2 questions, because I was meant to ask you a question at the first, and it's my favorite question to ask, and I completely forgot, because again, like with all these podcasts, I was excited at the start and then I forget. Like I said, the show notes are absolutely useless now. I might have not as well written them. But so anyone who's looking to be the next Shania Robba, I think I know the answer to this question, because I think you'll have a very similar answer to TJ. But what is your advice for someone who wants to be the next Shania Robba? It doesn't have to be in Gibraltar, again, because you've inspired a lot of people from all sorts of walks of life. But what is your advice? Deep question.
I think the classic answer is obviously working hard, which I'm sure you could have predicted. But it's more consistency rather than the working hard, because if you're working hard and kind of you stop, you carry on, you stop, you carry on, that's not consistent for that. There's no kind of reason behind that. So it's more about consistency. I've been working hard for years now, and my head is completely kind of focused on football. So everything I do is because I have football in mind. And I think that's what you need, because a lot of people nowadays, like, their motivation comes extrinsically, like especially with Gibraltar now, for like foreign players coming in, and there's money involved. And I think something that the women's football has, that I think no other football in the men's game have, is that we have that intrinsic motivation that we love football, and we do it because we love the game, not because of anything else. So obviously I have that privilege to say that. And like, for example, now that I'm traveling back for the friendlies, I'm missing out on 2 weeks of lectures, which now I have to catch up on. So that's more late nights. But people don't see that. But then again, I go and I play and I forget about all this and I'm focused on the challenges. So obviously my advice is to be consistent, to have this goal all the time in the back of your head, and to obviously focus on the steps forward, not the big jump to the top of the stairs, but focus, because without you even realizing, you have a stair to climb in front of you, kind of, and no matter if it's a big or small stair, it's one step further to your goal. And then the moment you realize that, you look back, you've climbed such a long way already, and it's almost at that point where you think, I can give it that last push. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I think, at least.
Okay, I can't drop this one, but I would if I could drop it. I can't, just very expensive this one. I can't drop this one. No, but I know. Again, I have no other words apart from that's brilliant, because I know exactly what you mean. Obviously, I'm thankful enough as well to play for Gibraltar as well. I know that feeling. It's a case of, yes, sacrifices need to be made for other ones, but like once you're in the moment, then especially like you said, you've got the small steps. No, this small step is uni, and then that small step is second year, and then that small step's third year. But then obviously that fourth step may be playing, in European qualifiers or World Cup qualifiers, which I think obviously I saw is hopefully, fingers crossed, going to happen in the future. So and this is the same as myself this year. Again, it's not a James Fitzgerald podcast, so this is purely about Shania. But obviously I can relate in that respect. We've got World Cup qualifiers this year for cricket, and then the opposition that we play is we've played against before, so we know exactly what we're coming up against. So we have that feeling that, it's possible to qualify potentially for the next round. It's difficult, but I think, like you said, I've got university. I'm in third year now to do, I'm thankfully, I would be lying if I said that I haven't struggled a bit, but, the university and people have work as well. I think that's with the beauty, like you said, you hit it spot on. I think cricket now is extremely intrinsically motivated, comes from within, because we don't get paid to play cricket for Gibraltar. It's you represent the Rock. I mean, at the moment they're doing so now when we recorded this, they're doing this the first competition they've ever played in Gibraltar for like 5 years, which is incredible. So then everyone's like, oh, didn't know Gibraltar played cricket. So then obviously the following that gets, and it's incredible. And I think you can agree together, women's game has grown, thankfully, to yourself, and it will continue to grow for yourself and other influential females who play not just for Gibraltar, again, like you said, from all walks. And again, I've done this podcast in reverse, Vale, but I'm going to ask you an icebreaker question. Well, it's not really an icebreaker anymore, because it's more like a nice melted, because it's a podcast coming to an end. Pero, okay, this is, I don't know if you've seen any of them before, Vale, but everyone's icebreaker is different, okay? Some of them are really bizarre, because some people just, I don't know, I just try to make it as interesting as possible, right? And this is a difficult one, okay, because you said you're very driven, right? So I had to think about this one, right? And it may be a bit cliche to some, right? But your weirdest stereotype for before a game or before a training session.
Weirdest stereotype. What do you mean by that? Like
or your weirdest, not stereotype. Did I say stereotype? Your weirdest, like, pre-match routine. Why did I say stereotype?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I think of the word, but yeah. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not very, like, you see people doing different things, and I'm not really about that. But to be honest, I make sure that I'm ready in different ways. Like, obviously my hair is something that's very important, as people know. Like my friends and my sister always complain, because like if I have to do my hair 20 times so I don't have a bump, I'll do it 20 times. And even if, like, honestly, my arms end up so dead sometimes, but I basically can't have bumps in my hair. That's probably the main one that I can think of. My lenses are a bit annoying sometimes, that I have dry eyes, so I have to put drops in. But apart from those two,
the hair one is spot on. That's exactly what I was after. See, I had an interview with someone, or not an interview. This is not an interview. I had a podcast with someone the other day, and I asked him the weirdest question, well, because he always posts about what shoes he has on Instagram or whatever. So I said, if you had to wear one pair of shoes, and then all of a sudden he just got really mathematical with it. It was like, well, if you have to walk barefoot, if you have to do this and you have to do that, which is amazing. So we'll end on that one. So ladies and gentlemen, this was probably one of the longest episodes, which is brilliant. So, and I want to thank Shania for taking the time out of her busy schedule. As we said, obviously, if you go back to it, she's absolute nutter waking up at 6 a.m. I do it as well. Absolute nutters. It really does my head in, but I can't stop. But no, thank you so much for coming on. And finally, what's next for you? Apart from obviously games for Gibraltar coming up, Gib Talks. Hopefully, is there a stream for that one, or do you have to wait until it comes out?
I'm not too sure about that. I haven't been informed. I know more about what's happening on the day, but not sure if there's a stream. I can ask for you. And
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Go over here in Wales, we're all secluded into the west. We don't do anything. No, but what's next after obviously Gib Talks and coming out to play for Gibraltar? What's next for you?
Like, there's obviously I'm going to carry on finishing this degree, but I have an agent now who's helping me along the way. There's a few clubs that have asked for me.
Transfer deadline day, part 2.
I was supposed to go on many trials, but obviously with uni it's difficult because Loughborough is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of championships in London. So I might this year I'm using it to kind of carrying on improving, and next year is when like the whole kind of, since it's my last year, that's when clubs are gonna start coming to watch. I'm gonna go trial, and then obviously we see from there. But I have loads of opportunities coming again, so brilliant. It's not the last. It's not the last for me.
That's brilliant. That's what I want to hear. That's what everyone wants to hear. It's not the end, which is fantastic. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I hope to try to be as supportive as I can. So share as much bits and bobs as I can. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can't make it to the games, unfortunately, in a couple of weeks. But I went to watch the last one, and it was incredible to see, because nothing against the blokes, but when I went to see the last game for the men compared to the women had a way bigger crowd. So, and that's not just saying that. I promise, it was fantastic to see it. Really, really good. So thank you very much again for coming on, Shania. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And I will see you guys soon.